Good morning, boys and girls. This is Aunt Jenny. I'm so glad you could join us for Sabbath school. Let's start with some songs. Let's sing Father, I Adore You. And if you have this book, Sing for Joy, it's on page 21. Father, I adore you, lay my life before you, how I love you. Jesus, I adore you, lay my life before you, how I love you. Spirit, I adore you, lay my life before you, how I love you. Now let's sing number 23 in this same book, Rejoice in the Lord. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Let's sing it again. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Oh, how he loves you and me. Oh, how he loves you and me. He gave his life, what more could he give? Oh, how he loves you. Oh, how he loves me. Oh, how he loves you and me. Jesus to Calvary did go, his love for mankind to show. What he did there brought hope from despair. Oh, how he loves you. Oh, how he loves me. Oh, how he loves you and me. Let's pray. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for your love to us. Thank you for this Sabbath. Please come and be our teacher today and help us that we will come more like you as we study about you and how we can be like you. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's go to our nature corner. Come on. Welcome to the Nature Corner. We have a special guest today, and he's going to share with us some amazing things about insects and how to catch them.
Well, sooner or later, anybody that is looking at insects wants to catch some so they can look at them closer. And there's various ways of doing that. You can have a net like this. This is best for catching insects that are swimming in the water. They make special butterfly nets to catch butterflies out of the air. Or they also have a different kind of net that's used for sweeping through plants to catch any insects that might be hanging onto them. Another thing that you can do is spread a cloth on the ground under a tree and then bang on the branches, and a lot of the insects will fall onto the cloth, and then you can see them and catch them. You can roll rocks or peel the bark off of logs and see a lot of interesting insects that way. And I know in some of your nature walks you've been doing that. Then a lot of scientists that study insects use traps to catch them. And there's various types of traps that you can make that will catch insects. Now, once you've caught the insect, there's several things you can do with it. You can put it in a container. Just any jar will be fine. If you want to keep it alive and see what it does, you'll need to put a couple little tiny holes in the cap, and then you can watch it. If you actually want to make an insect collection, then probably the easiest way of doing that is to take the insects once you've caught them and put the container in the freezer. The insect will actually die from that, but then you can put it in a collection. If it's a butterfly or a moth, you can do the same thing, but the best way to do that is to put it in an envelope and then pinch it to stun it, and then you can put it in the freezer. Once you have the specimen, then you're going to want to mount it. And that way you can put it in a collection. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that you can watch to tell you how to mount the specific type of insects that you have. And then the most exciting thing to do once you have your insect is to look at it under the microscope. And if you have a nice microscope, that makes all the difference in the way you look at insects. Just to give you one example, I caught a type of fly in a type of trap, and I didn't notice that it was anything special until I mounted it and put it under the microscope. And then I noticed that it had a head shaped a little bit like a hammerhead shark.
Wow.
The head had projections out on the side, and on the end of those projections were things that stuck out like that, and all of those projections were covered with eyes. The eye was just a very bizarre shape on the fly. And unless you actually collect the insect and put it under the microscope, you're going to miss a lot of what actually is out there that you could understand and learn about the insects.
Wow. That's a lot like people too. By just looking at a person, we don't know what's actually there. And until we get to know them, we look at them closer, and then we can see what beautiful personality they may have.
Right.
That's really cool. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about the case that you could put them in?
There are various things you can do with your collection. The easiest way when you're first starting is just to use something like a Rubbermaid container, and then spread something in the bottom like a sheet of cork or styrofoam. Styrofoam isn't quite as good as something called plastizote. And the reason for that is that you'll need mothballs in your collection, and styrofoam will actually melt from the mothballs. But eventually, if you become serious, you're going to want some very nice cases. And this is an example of the type of case that you would use if you want to make a collection that's actually the same quality as would be in a museum.
Wow.
And I think you can put a link below the video to the company that carries these. I've been dealing with them for many years, and I can verify they're very reliable. They not only have all the equipment that you would need, but they have a lot of books so that you can identify what you've caught.
Wow. That's so amazing. I want to start a collection, don't you? That is so cool. Thank you so much for sharing with
You're
us.
welcome.
Thank you. Let's go and see what's next in our program. Wasn't that interesting to see how to collect the insects? God made such beautiful things, and he likes it when we study them and learn more about him by looking at them. We have a very interesting program about how to be obedient. There's a book I want to share with you. It's called Disobeying by Joy Berry. Let's see if you can see this nicely. Can you see it? All right. This book is about Annie. Reading about Annie can help you understand and deal with disobeying. I asked you not to get into the cookies. I hope you're not disobeying me. Uh-oh. Is she obeying? No, she's getting the cookies. You are disobeying when you do not do what you have been told to do. Your parents have good reasons for telling you what to do. This is why you should not disobey them. If you eat a cookie now, you won't want to eat your dinner. Oh. Your parents tell you what to do because they do not want you to hurt yourself or others. Annie, wait, I told you not to get into the street. Skirt! Uh-oh, the car almost hit her. Was it better to obey? Yeah. Your parents tell you what to do because they do not want you to damage or destroy things. I told you not to play so roughly with your things. Uh-oh. What happened? The wheels came off of her truck. Too bad. Your parents tell you what to do because they want you to be liked by other people. Do you like it when other people like you? Yeah. Why won't you play with me? I told you that you have to be kind to other children if you want them to play with you. Your parents tell you what to do because they want you to be fair. I asked you to pick up your toys. It isn't fair for you to play with the toys and then leave them for someone else to pick up. What a mess. Sometimes you might wonder why parents get to tell their children what to do. Why do Mom and Dad get to boss me around? Why can't I be my own boss? Parents tell their children what to do because they have lived longer and have learned more than children. Thus, parents usually know what's best for their children, and God helps parents know how to teach their children, Oh no, Annie, I told you not to touch the hot stove. Oh, ouch! Look, oh no, she burned her hand. Parents know what's best, Parents tell their children what to do because they're responsible for their children. Parents have to take care of the damage when their children hurt themselves or others. How much do I owe the doctor for taking care of Annie's burn? See, the mommy has to pay for Annie's owie because she had to go to the doctor, Sometimes parents need to punish children for disobeying. The purpose of punishment is to make children feel bad about disobeying so they will not disobey again. I wish Dad hadn't taken my bike away just because I was riding it in the street. When I get it back, I won't ride it in the street because I don't want to have it taken away again. It's good to obey, isn't it? You can avoid being punished if you do these things. Talk to your parents. Find out what they want you to do, then do it. Annie, I don't want you to eat candy before dinner. Uh-oh. Did she get candy? Uh-oh. Sometimes you might not agree with your parents. Tell them how you feel. They might change their minds. If they do not change their minds, drop the subject. Nagging and throwing tantrums and whining will only frustrate you and make your parents angry. We don't want to do that, do we? Can't I eat some candy before dinner if I eat only a little bit? No, even a little bit of candy will take away your appetite for dinner. What should she say, okay? Tell the truth if you disobey. Admit that you disobeyed so that you are sorry and mean it. Did you eat this candy? Yes. Accept your punishment if you disobey. Do not be angry at your parents when they punish you. Remember, it was you who disobeyed, not them. Try not to disobey again. Since you disobeyed me, you will not be allowed to eat the rest of the candy. When you obey, you please your parents, and you are doing what is best for you. Oh, they're so happy now. And when we obey our parents, we do what God wants us to do, don't we? You know, our parents love us very much, and that's why they want us to obey. And because they love God, and God wants us to obey, and when we learn to obey our parents, we learn how to honor God too. There's a wonderful story in this book, the storybook by Uncle Arthur's Bedtime Stories. Arthur Maxwell. Mother's Hands. Does it look nice? Okay. Just when it happened, I do not know. Maybe 50 years ago, maybe 100. It really doesn't matter. The story was old when I was a boy. And what's quite some time ago. I tell it again because you will love it too. A sweet young mother, having laid her baby girl to sleep in her cradle, went down the street to visit a neighbor. She had often left her baby before just for a few minutes. And there had been no trouble, so she had no doubt that all would be well now. Arriving at the neighbor's house, she began to chat about this and that, but was suddenly interrupted by a sound that always sent a chill through her. The city was a fire alarm. Woo! Don't worry, said the neighbor. Most likely it's only a grass fire. There are lots of them this time of year. But the alarm sounded again. Woo! It must be serious, said the mother. Oh, don't bother, said the neighbor. I'm sure the fire isn't anywhere near here. But listen, said the mother. I can hear the fire engine, and it's coming this way. And look, she said, see the people running. Oh, they were running down the street. They were running toward my house. Oh! Without another word, she dashed into the street and ran with the gathered crowd. Then she saw it. Her own house was on fire. Smoke and flames were already pouring through the roof. My baby, she cried frantically. My baby! The crowd was thick around the house, but like one gone mad, she pushed and tore her way through. My baby, my little Margie! A fireman seized her. You can't go, he cried. You will be burned to death. Let me go, she cried, breaking free and dashing through the flaming house. She knew just where to go. Running through the smoke and flames, she seized her precious baby, then turned to make her way out. But overcome by the smoke, she swayed and fell, and would have burned to death with her baby had not a fireman seized her and carried her out. What a cheer went up as they appeared, but alas, though the baby was saved unharmed, the poor mother was badly off. She was badly hurt. Kind friends put her in an ambulance and hurried her off to the hospital. There it was found that her hands, the brave dear hands that had lifted her baby from the blazing crib, were terribly burned. All their beauty, of which she had been so proud, was gone. Though the doctors did their best to save them, they were left marred and crippled. Months later, the brave mother was released from the hospital. She and her baby were together again in a new home. Weeks became months, and months became years. The baby toddled, walked, and ran. She was no longer a baby. She was a little girl. She was beginning to notice things. One day, when Margie was about 8 years old, her mother was washing dishes in the kitchen sink. Suddenly, Margie saw something she hadn't always seen. Margie saw something that she had always seen but never noticed before. "Mother," she exclaimed, "what ugly hands you have!" "Yes, my dear," said Mother quietly, though hurt almost beyond words. "They are ugly, aren't they?" "But why do you have ugly hands when other people have pretty hands?" said Margie, not knowing how every word was like a dagger in Mother's heart. Tears filled Mother's eyes. "Oh, what have I done?" asked Margie. Then Mother took Margie's hand and led her to the Davenport. "There's something I must tell you, dear," she said. Then she told her story as Margie had never understood it before. She told of the fire, of the people who tried to hold her back, and of the wild dash into the burning house, and how she lifted the baby from the flaming crib, how she fell, and how she was rescued, and how badly she had been burned. "My hands were beautiful till then," she said. Margie clasped the crooked hands in hers, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Mother dear," she cried, "they are the most beautiful hands in all the world." "Children, there are other hands that were wounded for you, the hands of Jesus, the children's friend and Savior, the hands of Him who came down from heaven to rescue His people from sin and save them in His beautiful kingdom. You know what happened to Jesus? Evil men drove great nails into His hands and hung Him on a cross to die. They buried Him in Joseph's new tomb, but they couldn't keep Him there. He rose again and ascended to heaven, where He lives today, waiting for the glad day when He shall return. The marks of the nails are still there, and when He comes back, they will still be there. We shall know Him then by the print of the nails in His hands. Those nail marks will be there through all eternity as you meet Him in the New Jerusalem or in the lovely new earth. You will know that those hands, those dear, dear hands saved of Jesus, were marred that you might be saved. And when you say to Him, "What happened to your hands?" He will tell you the wonderful story of salvation over and over again. Then, with little Margie, you will exclaim, "They are the most beautiful hands in all the world." I'm so glad the little girl saw how beautiful her mommy's hands were. Your parents' hands are beautiful too. All the hours they spend feeding you and cleaning you and getting you ready for the day, your parents are to be honored and respected. Jesus loves them and He loves you. And to obey Jesus and to show Him honor, we need to honor our parents. There's another rescue story of a mama, and I've asked my mama to share it because this story happened before I was born. So let's hear the story.
It happened more than 29 years ago, and it was about July or August. And my tummy was getting very big because I had a little girl in my tummy, and it was Jenny. And the doctors told me that if I moved, that I would bleed totally around the baby and both of us would die, so I had to stay quiet. Do you want to swim a little bit more? Do you want to get on your tummy?
Oh, yeah.
How fun is that? Well, what was a mommy to do that had 3 very active boys? I thought the swimming pool would be the best activity. Then I would know where they were and I could listen. I could lie down and watch out the big sliding glass door with the screen door closed to keep the mosquitoes and to keep little Kyle from going out to the pool. Little Kyle did not yet know how to swim. And I had a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old that went out swimming in the big, nice pool. It was a 5-foot deep pool. They were having so much fun. The fun that they were having, you could tell by their squeals and their shouting for joy. But then suddenly their squeals turned into a dispute. And I know that it's very dangerous to have a dispute of any pushing or shoving when you're trying to swim in such a pool that's so deep. And I went out to stop the dispute before someone would be injured. And I thought Kyle was inside playing. And I did not see that he was going behind me, slipping out the door without me seeing him and hiding against the house until I went back inside. My conflict resolution requests worked. And they were happily squealing again and splashing and having lots of fun. Then, yeah, that's the kind of sounds. They were so happy. Let me tickle your toes. They were having so much fun. And then all of a sudden, I heard my oldest son, Lloyd, screaming, "Kyle's drowning!" Oh no, I didn't know he had gone out by the pool. He didn't know how to swim. I took one look out the window and I saw his little hand held up high. And he's then down under the water again. I didn't know how many times that he had already done that and if he would come up again. Now, I had to decide. The doctor told me I would die. I was pregnant with little Jenny, and I would die if I did any actions. I had to hold still and not move, or I would lose her. I had been bleeding. I had bled all the way around the baby, and if I moved, more bleeding would happen, and it would close off the placenta, which was feeding the baby. And yet, I look out the window, and there's my boy. I'm the only one who could save Kyle from drowning, the only one. So I made the decision. I would be the one to die. So I had to make a decision. Would I be the one to die, or my son? What mother who loves her child would even think for a half a second of watching her child drown? Not this mama. This mama loved Kyle so much. I did everything for him. I was running. My body hit the screen door and broke the screen door. And I went charging out there, dove in, swam over to Kyle, took him in my arms, carried him inside, and then I began to shiver in wonderment. Will I be dying now? Will I start bleeding? What sound does a mama make if she's dying from that? I wonder. And so I held Kyle, and I didn't want to frighten him dying while I was holding him. So I thought I would sing until I was dead. And I prayed, Lord, I want to live to raise this boy to be a good citizen, a loving man, who would be a good citizen in the country and honest and obedient and kind. I need to do that. He's too young for the mommy to die. And as I held him, I started singing, I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I am living, my baby you'll be. Now we should get something fun to eat. And so I found some non-dairy ice cream, and we celebrated the life of Kyle. Thank God. And I got to thinking, Jesus was the only one who could rescue us from drowning in sin. If he had decided in heaven that he did not want to come and help us by dying on the cross, we could not have lived. And he is the one who pulled us out of drowning in sin. John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his only Son, that whoever believed in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Do you love Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you survived, and I survived too. You know, that could have turned out to be so awful, but God had another plan.
I am so thankful for his plan was to save all of our lives, Kyle's and mine and Jenny's and the whole world when he died on the cross. Whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
That is self-sacrificing love, isn't it? Jesus loves us so much, and it's demonstrated in how our parents treat us and how they take care of us. Parents love you, and they want you to obey. Just like the mother in her story, she loved her child so much, she risked her life. And Jesus loves us too, and he wants us to obey our parents. There was a father that went to visit his son in school, and he had spent all his money so the son could get an education. And he missed his son so much that one day he decided he was going to get on his old tractor and he was going to go the distance to where the son was in school on the tractor. So he went and went and went in the tractor till he arrived at the school. And the son, he didn't welcome his father. When he saw the father coming, the old dusty tractor, he thought, oh, my friends are going to see him in the old tractor, and they're going to know that I'm not a rich man boy. So you know what he did? He refused to even look at his father. He didn't even acknowledge that his father was there. And his father was so sad. He was crying all the way back to the farm. And he had a heart attack and he died. We need to always show our parents respect, no matter how poor they are. If they're doing the best for you, that is a treasure. Even if they have ugly hands or ugly things, it's because they're doing their best for you and giving their all. The 5th commandment says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. I want to keep the commandments, don't you? The law of the Lord is perfect, comforting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey, and the honeycomb. The statute of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey, and the honeycomb. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, even much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. More to be desired are they than gold, even much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. When we honor our parents, we honor God. And when we keep the commandments, that is another way to honor God. We honor our parents because we love them, and we honor God because we love Him. There's a wonderful book that talks about one way to honor God. That is the Sabbath. It's called Mommy Is Today's Sabbath by Jacqueline Galloway Blake. Mommy is today's Sabbath. No, son, today is Sunday, your trip day. Get ready, let's go to the zoo and see the animals God made for you. Do you like to see the giraffes? Yeah, they're so fun. Mommy is today's Sabbath. No, son, today is Monday, my wash day. Help me sort the laundry, light and dark. Then we'll wash, dry, and fold, and you can do your part. Mommy is today's Sabbath. No, son, today is Tuesday, helping day. We'll find someone in the neighborhood who needs a helping hand. Let's rake Mrs. Coleman's yard. She's crippled and can't stand. That was nice. Mommy is today's Sabbath. No, son, today is Wednesday, library day. We'll take a look at lots of books about panda bears, airplanes, and trees. Then listen during the story hour to the librarian as she reads. Mommy is today's Sabbath. No, son, today is Thursday, baking day. Let's bake raisin bread. You need the dough. Then stir the cake batter in the oven. They'll go. Mommy is today's Sabbath. No, son, today is Friday, preparation day. Help me. Hand me the lace tablecloth, candles and plates. The house is clean, we're ready. There's Daddy, please open the gate. Mommy, is today Sabbath? Yes, son, today is Sabbath, the best day. You waited patiently. Let's count the days of the week and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The seventh day is Sabbath, God's special day He blessed. The Sabbath day is better than all the rest. Yay! We'll sing and pray at church today, then come home for a special treat. Mommy, I love the Sabbath and I can't wait for it to come again next week. This is a special blessing when we obey God and we keep His commandments. Jesus will give us special blessings. If we make the Sabbath a delight and honor it, God will bless us. Now let's go to our story corner and learn about Ellen White. Come on. Do you remember last week we learned about the great dark day and when the moon turned to blood? This week we're learning about something else that happened. In 1833, William Miller was preaching about the soon return of Jesus and about how the sun would be darkened and the moon would turn to blood. And there was something else that would happen. Now, this event happened on November 13, 1833. What happened on that day? That was the day that there was a great shower of stars that fell from the sky. This was a sign to let people know that Jesus was coming soon. Have you ever seen a falling star?
No.
It's interesting to watch. It looks like a fireball with a stream of light coming behind it, kind of like fireworks. Have you seen fireworks?
No.
This time of year, we think about the 4th of July and our independence, and we look at fireworks, don't we? They're so pretty with their colors, and we know they're not going to hurt us, so they're fun to watch. They shoot across the sky. They're so fast and bright. In our story last week, we only looked at part of the verse talking about how the moon would turn to blood and the sun would be darkened, but there was more to it. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from the heavens. That's Matthew 24:29. And in Revelation 6:12-13 we read, the sun became black, and the moon became as blood, and the stars fell upon the earth. From that verse we see that Jesus gave 3 signs to show that his coming was near. The sun would be darkened, the moon turn to blood, and the stars would fall from the heavens. Well, this doesn't mean that the regular stars that we see every night would fall that are in the constellations, but there would be meteor-like stars that would fall from the heavens. The children who saw the dark day and the moon turn to blood became older and older until they were grandmothers and grandfathers. And at this point is when this story happened of the stars falling. It was just about midnight on November 13, 1833. Most people were already sleeping peacefully in their beds, but there were some people walking in the dark. They may have been walking home from a program or visiting a relative. Then suddenly a flash of light went across the heavens, and another one, till the sky became full of falling stars. So many stars falling, it was like rain falling from the sky. Suddenly they were telling everyone in the neighborhood, wake up, you gotta see this, you gotta see what's happening. The stars are falling. And everyone came out of their homes and they were looking at the amazing sight of the stars falling from the sky. They were looking up at the sky. Some of them thought it was really pretty to watch. Other people were scared and they started to cry. See, little girl, she's crying. Other people started to pray and they went inside of their homes to pray. Others fell to their knees right there and were praying because they were so scared. What was happening? Why were the stars falling? Oh, was it the end of the world? These people prayed that God would help them know what was happening. A lot of people were so scared. Some people ran to their churches to have the Bible show them what was happening. Other people ran to their neighbors to confess the wrongs that they had done to each other. Stars fell in every direction, north, south, east, and west. But they all came from one point in the sky. The Bible says it would happen in Revelation 6:13. And the stars of heaven fell upon the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Untimely figs mean the green ones, huh? Have you ever seen a fig tree getting shaken in the wind? When the figs are green, they don't have the weight in them to hold them onto in place, but when they're green, they're light, and when the tree's shaken, they just go off in every direction. Now the people saw the stars shooting off in every direction from that one area. The sign was happening just exactly as God said it would. No one had ever seen so many meteor stars fall at one time. They hadn't seen the shower of stars falling so long either. It started from midnight all the way till morning. Bright, fast, and beautiful. Finally, the last of the stars stopped falling and nothing else happened. But the people could not forget what they had seen. What did it mean? Many people began to think seriously about what the Bible says and the way they were living. They decided to study the Bible more to find out what God wanted them to know. And they wanted to get ready for His soon coming. Ellen Harmon was about 6 years old when this happened. She saw it and must have thought it was beautiful to look at. But when she heard William Miller preach, she learned that it was an important prophecy to talk about Jesus' soon coming. As William Miller was preaching about Jesus' soon coming, she wondered, could he be right? Many people decided to study their Bibles more and to learn more about what it said about His coming. Next week, we're going to be looking at a very interesting math problem and how William Miller helped people understand what it all meant. Now, let's go study the Bible. Are you ready to study the Bible? Good. Before we start, let's pray. Dear Jesus, please be with us as we study the Bible. Help us that we will learn how to keep your commandments better. In Jesus' name, amen. Today, we're going to be looking at the story of Ruth. This story is found in the book of Ruth. In chapter 1, verse 1, it says, Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man went to travel in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. What's a famine? A famine is a time when there is no food. And many times this is from a disease or some other kind of pestilence or war. But this family, there was no food, so they went to find a place where they could have a better garden and be able to have more money and food. So they went to the land of Moab to live for a while. While they were there, Naomi's husband Elimelech died. She was so sad. Her 2 sons grew older and they got married to 2 very nice ladies. The first one was Orpah and the other one was Ruth. But they also died. The 2 sons died. Naomi was so sad she decided to go back to her home in Bethlehem. So she told her 2 daughters-in-law, go back to your homes and to your families so you can get married again. But Ruth said, don't ask me to leave you. Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Where you die, I die, and your God will be my God. So she went back to live with her mother-in-law, Naomi. Now in those days, they had laws that if a person was hungry, they could go to anyone's garden and get what they needed. So Ruth went to find food, and she went to the garden of Boaz. And there she gathered the barley, because it was the time of the barley harvest. Boaz was a kind man and let her get all she wanted and even gave her extra. Ruth was a very kind lady. Instead of telling her mother-in-law, "You go be the one to get all the food," she didn't. She was working hours and hours making sure she was providing for her mother-in-law. Every day she was honoring her mother-in-law. After a while, Ruth and Boaz got married. And this was their custom at that time. If there was a widow, the next of kin would honor the dead and marry the widow. And they would remove a sandal to show that they were transferring the property. Ruth was still honoring her mother-in-law after she was married. She and Boaz had a child, and they named him Obed. And everyone crowded around Naomi, and they said, "A child is born to Naomi," because Ruth let Naomi raise the little one that they had. And thus they were honoring the dead. And so she had a name for herself. We need to honor our parents too. In the picture you see my grandmother when she was in her 20s and then just before she died. When people are young and pretty, sometimes it's easier to show love to them, but when they get older and have a hard time walking, sometimes some people forget what it means to honor them. My mother showed great respect to her mother. When she came to visit, she made sure all the bigger rocks were out of the road so she wouldn't stumble and fall. Something that we can do when it snows, we don't have this problem in all the world, but when it snows in North America, we have to shovel it out. And this way we can honor our parents by making sure they don't fall in the snow. Or picking up our toys. We need to make sure we pick up our toys so that people don't fall. And that way we can honor our parents. In Exodus 20 verse 12 it says, "Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee." As we keep the commandments of God, we can have God's character. He wants us to know how we can have a long life. He says, "Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee." We want God's character. We want to honor our parents. So I want to give you a challenge right now. And while this is being recorded, this story, there's a lot of people that are not in school because there's a virus going around called the coronavirus. And I want to challenge you, since you're home, to think of something special you can do to honor your parents. It could be washing the dishes, taking out the trash, or letting your parents pick a special chore for you to do, and that will show honor to them. I'm so glad you joined us for our Sabbath school today. Let's pray as we finish out our program. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for your Bible stories. Thank you that they teach us how we are to keep your commandments and honor you and our family and our friends. Please help us that we will obey you. Please help us that we will obey you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Did you enjoy our program? Please come back again. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.